I think I'm just quite obsessed with Kelly Rowland.
Me too.
It's insane how good she looks.
She just,
I'm like, what are you doing?
she looks
what are
better
you doing
now
She
than when
does.
she was in Destiny's
Yeah.
Child.
Yeah.
I feel she's like aged backwards.
Yeah. Hello and welcome to the Sherlock's podcast. This is the first of a mini-series all about Black beauty. I'm Rhea Cartwright. Let's do a round of introductions. I am sat here today with Sherri, lifestyle editor of Sherlock's.
Hello.
Adeola Gboyega, makeup artist, superstar, queen of glow,
Queen of
and
glow.
friend of the show as well. So I feel like everyone, if you're listening or watching, you know the laugh. So we are super excited today to talk about Black beauty, and in particular the lack of diversity. And after a long amount of time of neglect, the industry is finally waking up. So we're going to be discussing everything Black beauty, Adeola's illustrious career, product. I think also are the challenges still on the horizon to face, but also I really want to make sure we focus on Black joy as well.
Yeah.
I think it would be too easy for us to focus on all the negatives and not all the good things that are happening.
Yeah.
We're going to start with you, Adiola, as I said, Queen of Glow. I'm always interested in terms of how did people get started, and I'm going to go back a little bit because before makeup artistry,
Yes.
you went to Loughborough.
I know.
How did you go from also such a sporty university? Were you on like the lacrosse team? How did you end up going to Loughborough?
No sports whatsoever. It's so funny because I was having this conversation yesterday with Millie from Blanket PR, who also did the same exact degree that I did.
Wow.
But I think I graduated a couple of years after her. So I graduated in 2010. So I've always had a love of beauty. There's no denying it. I used to spend money that I never have actually had, whatever money that I could grab and buy, like Glamour magazine, Black Beauty. There was another Black magazine, I think it was called Pride magazine, that I used to buy back in the day. I don't know if
remember
it's
that,
still in publication, And, these are expensive magazines, and I would literally just go straight to the back of the magazine for like 3 or 4 pages. That was the beauty section, and just soak it all in, And actually, it's really crazy because I never actually looked at it and saw the lack of diversity. I was just really excited about the trends. So it didn't really matter to me at the time that it wasn't on a black skin, but actually now it would have been great to see that representation. I just wanted to know about the latest tips and tricks and, who the beauty director was. I was really, really inspired by it. But I think when I was coming up, it was always about education, not really about being creative. So it was always about like get your GCSEs, get your A-levels and then go to university, which I did. But I thought I'd probably go into beauty PR or some sort of journalism. I think I thought I was going to be writing for Vogue magazine or something like that.
You still might.
It never can happen. I'm writing for Sherlock, so that's just as good, which is really
Even
exciting. Even better, I would say. But yeah, like I just never thought that I could have a career as a creative in the industry. It was always kind of like behind the scenes, And then
On that, do you think that's because of... And I think one thing, especially like non-Black people, maybe non-ethnic people don't realise are the kind of pressures of being Black British or Indian British, whatever the case is, and like family saying, we work super hard, so you better be a doctor, an accountant, a lawyer.
Yes.
High achiever.
Exactly. Did you feel that pressure?
So my mum's a teacher and she worked in a secondary school, and I think she saw the other side of that, where there was a lot of pressure on a lot of kids to be a doctor, to be, so-called kind of like in these jobs that were very much kind of respected. And, I think she never ever pressurized me. She just always said, just do well in whatever it was. I just felt like I always had an affinity with beauty, and I knew that I was going to go into it in some capacity, but I just never knew that it would be as a makeup artist. So, I did my GCSEs, I did my A-levels, went to Loughborough University. That was the only uni that was doing my course at the time, which was such a weird thing.
Wow.
Because it was a sporting uni. It wasn't like I wanted to go there. It was just that that was the only one at the time that was doing media and communications, which is something that I wanted to do. So I went there. I've done my degree now. I've graduated. I was literally like hanging on by a thread towards the end, not wanting to kind of give up. I did my degree. I graduated, and I was like, okay, I've done what I need to do. Now I want to do what I want to do now. And I think to your point, Rhea, if I had maybe met someone that was a working makeup artist, maybe another Black woman that was doing that job as there every day, I probably would have felt more inspired to kind of like go to that sort of like journey a lot quicker. But I'm kind of glad that I didn't. Like I had an amazing
Everything
time.
has its season as well, right?
100%. And so I just literally retrained as a makeup artist after I finished. So after I graduated in 2010, I was applying to all these amazing brands such as like Bobbi Brown, Adeola companies, was getting no after no after no, because at that time you couldn't be self-taught. You had to go and do a makeup course. And so I saved up whatever money that I could at the time, got part-time jobs working on beauty counters, which is one of the best things that I would recommend. I actually did a masterclass on Sunday with another incredible makeup artist called Adeola, and one of the questions was, how do we get in the industry? And I said, you know what, now the best thing that you can do is just get a job on a beauty counter, because you get free makeup, you can build your kit, you get discounts, but also you're working on faces every single day. You don't know who's going to be in your seat, and you're able to really learn your craft, and you're getting paid to do it as well.
I also think that actually for anybody that works in beauty, whether on the kind of creative side, in my job, I also say to people, start on counter. 100%. Like, shop floor is king. Like, you know, you understand product, you understand relationships, you understand how the business works. And like same, I started on counter. So like from counter to buying, like is wild. But it's interesting that, you know, both you and Joy said that. And I think especially now it's probably the barriers to entry a little bit easier now, but there's so many people that are makeup artists now.
Absolutely. And you can always tell the difference between someone that is maybe self-taught, maybe they learn, you know, watching videos on YouTube and things like that, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I do think there's something to say to someone that has been on the shop floor, because that customer service and understanding skin tones and that sort of real journey that you have. Like, I was working on the counter for over 10 years before I even started doing what I'm doing now full time.
So people don't see that, right? I feel like people probably see you now and be like, look, Adiola's doing, she's here, she's there, like on this trip. And you're like, I was grinding for 10 years. On my feet, shift working Boxing Day, Christmas Day, like Christmas Eve.
It's really hard work.
It's hard work. It's been 10 hard years of work for me to be able to be in the position that I'm in now, you know? So,
I think it's nice, though, to see that journey. And also it's realistic. That's a trajectory that's realistic. And I think we see people, especially like younger generation, and, you know, they do start off doing tutorials or TikTok, Instagram, probably more TikTok now, and then like all of a sudden they're famous, they've got a makeup range, and it's like, that's great for them and the minority that it does happen to, but it's not real life. Like, you have to put in, you know, your 10,000 hours, etc. When you made the shift then, so you're kind of, your first job's on counter, when you kind of got you went from Clarins, right? So Clarins to Bobbi Brown. What was that like? Because I feel like Bobbi Brown is a brand known for its artistry, its education. You kind of rose the ranks to pro artist. What was that foundation like? Excuse
Quite
the pun.
literally,
Wasn't planned.
I'm very grateful for it, because I think one of the things that I'm so well known for now is the skin aspect. You know, when I was trained as a makeup artist, the training for skincare was very minimal. It was literally like you had like a morning or an afternoon learning about skin prep, and then the rest of it was just makeup. And, you know, having my first job as a account manager working for Clarins was amazing, because I learned so much about skin, and now that's a lot of what my job is about, is educating, you know, my followers, my audience, but also my clients on how no makeup look is as good as the skin that you have underneath, but also to really love your skin. And so I had a short stint at Lancome before I then went to Bobbi Brown, because again, I was applying for jobs and I wanted to become a makeup artist, but I wasn't really there yet. Went to Lancome, that was amazing. They were just launching and expanding their foundation range at the time, which was Tontador Ultra, which is one of my favourite foundations. Beautiful foundation. And I must admit, there was certain things that was happening in the industry that made me feel really like uncomfortable. You know, there were certain brands that I'd worked with previously that didn't cater for me. And one of the reasons why I really wanted to work with Bobbi Brown is because I really loved Bobbi Brown herself's ethos. At the time, she was still with the brand. She was still the creative director, and, you know, it was all about be who you are, celebrating your skin tone. And I thought that was so important, because one of the events that happened in my career that really stood out to me was having a customer come up to me and being like, oh my God, I love your skin. Your foundation looks amazing. What are you wearing? And at the time I was working for a brand that didn't cater to me. And I had to embarrassingly say to her, unfortunately, I can't recommend the brand that I'm working for, but I could tell you about this brand that's amazing. And I just thought, how can I be a true ambassador for this brand and this company if I can't really represent, or they don't represent me? And that's when I decided to make a move. And I said to myself from that day onwards, I'm never going to work for a brand that doesn't cater to my skin tone, you know? And Bobbi Brown was always at the forefront of my mind. You know, there was different foundation shades. The foundation stick was like one of the first foundations I'd ever tried. And I really loved that, you know, Bobbi Brown at the time wasn't just educating you about how to pick the right foundation, but just to celebrate, you know, who you are. And at that time, all these different trends were coming up, like contouring. And I remember Bobbi Brown herself was like, I don't like contouring, you know, she was one of the few people in the industry that was actually going against the kind of grain of like trend, so to speak, because she really like looked at it as in like, when you want to change your face, and it's okay to do so, but when you're thinking of it in that sense, it's all about you looking at things that you don't like and trying to change that. And she kind of like looked at it in the other way and was like, well, actually focus on things that you do like about yourself. So if you don't like the shape of your face, focus on your eyes, you know. If you don't like anything else, then focus on a feature that you love about yourself. And I really, really love that.
That's just nice advice for everyone.
Absolutely, 100%. And I really love the education process about it as well, because when a client would book in, it would be like a lesson. So we're teaching you so that, you know, you're not just coming in and buying this amazing eyeshadow palette that you love, and then you're gonna go home and look at it and be like, what did Adiola tell me? I can't use that, you know. Or they're lured in by the beautiful packaging, but they don't know how to use the actual product at home. So I really love being able to kind of go on a journey with my clients and show them how to do things that they could be their own expert and do their makeup beautifully when they got home.
I love that. I love the idea. And when I was shop floor, for me, it was always about, empowering someone to become their own expert, because, you know, unfortunately, you don't have Adiola in your bathroom every day.
Oh, if only.
You know. Talk about the move to Pat. I feel like that was probably quite a big moment for you. Because I remember when Pat launched and then seeing you everywhere. Like literally everywhere.
And Pat being Pat McGrath.
Yeah, it was like Pat being Pat. Then Adiola's like leading the education and the artistry. What was that like for your career, for you? How did it feel? Like, I feel like as well, what does Pat represent to you?
Oh my God, it was huge. I probably would want to start off with how I even got that role. And also as well, why it's so important to have mentors and people that you look up to. So I wasn't actually looking to leave my job at the time. You know, at that time, I was very much like, I'm happy with the job that I'm in. I've been working for Bobbi Brown for 6 years. I was one of the pro artists. I was traveling up and down the country. And then Hannah Martin was working with me at the time within the same brand at Bobbi Brown. And then she then decided to leave. And then she said she actually had a dream that.
Oh, wow. I love stories.
So she'd actually had a dream, and it had something to do with either like me and Pat, and this was before she even had someone that used to work for Bobbi Brown that actually went to go and work for Pat McGrath. Her name was Tanya. She actually lived in the US, worked for Bobbi Brown in the US, then went over to Pat, kept in touch with Hannah, and then Hannah had this dream. She kind of mentioned it to me, but then it kind of was like a fleeting conversation. And then a couple of months later, she was like, I've had a conversation with someone that's actually working for Pat. I think you'd be amazing. I had huge imposter syndrome because Pat to me was just so like far removed, you know. It was someone that, you know, you would look up to, but you'd never think in a million years that you'd have any way of being like, even in the same room, let alone breathing the same air as Pat McGrath, you know. Like when you say her name, you know who she is. She's the most, you know, influential makeup artist in the world. Also, she's a black woman. So for me, that was just huge. And then I went for the interview and I thought, I'm not going to get it. And then I got to the next stage. And then I was like, I probably won't get that. And then I got offered the role. And it just happened in such a whirlwind. I remember thinking about like different ways I could talk myself out of getting the role. But it's because I was scared. But actually, I think even now, me doing what I'm doing now and working for myself, I probably wouldn't have been able to kind of make that jump had I not gone to Pat first. You know, sometimes you have to have an opportunity to kind of like push yourself off that ledge and think, actually, I've done it once, I can do that again. 100%. You know. And it was such an amazing time. It was a whirlwind, you know. That launch that Pat had at Selfridges was the biggest takeover that a beauty brand had had in the history of Selfridges. Oh, wow. And it was called the Technicolor Odyssey. She took over, I think, 24 of the 27 windows in Selfridges. It was huge. And actually, I had to miss like 3 months of it because I had a 3-month clause where I couldn't leave Bobbi Brown for another 3 months before I could go. So I was literally kind of like watching from the other side, thinking I want to be over there. But it was incredible. Like my first week of training was in Los Angeles. Like I I literally traveled so much in that first year alone. It was incredible.
Wow.
But it was such an amazing time for me, because to be able to be working under the wings of this incredible woman who, Pat and herself, I could never ever thank her enough for the opportunities that I had. You know, I at one point was at Paris, you know, with her, and we were, you know, doing makeup for the models and being part of her incredible team, but then also like being able to see the run through before the actual Valentino show. And then obviously the pandemic happened straight after that. So it was an amazing time, and I'm so grateful for that. But also as well, it really taught me about how it's important to have people that really fight for you in your corner, and people that you look up to that are able to kind of like put you in, you know, I always think about, you know, always represent yourself in the biggest way and the best way possible, because you never know who's speaking your name even when you're not there.
100%.
You know?
So true.
That's why it's also important to be so kind, to always be gracious to people, because, you know, I don't know about the conversations that are being had about me even before I get there. And a lot of the opportunities that I've had have been through people recommending me, and I'm just so grateful for that. But
it does help that you also are actually very nice.
Oh,
you
thank
know, like,
you.
it's kind of easy.
That always helps, yeah.
On the topic of mentors, and I think that maybe actually opens up to both of you, who did you look up to, like growing up, in terms of not only mentors, but I guess also kind of beauty icons? I feel like this question gets thrown around quite a lot, and naturally within media, there are fewer black women in kind of spaces of power. Who did you look up to?
That is a good question. Obviously, like Naomi Campbell, she's a very obvious one because she's been on Vogue forever. But then kind of like more of a lower level, not lower level, but I guess more accessible. I remember watching T4 and Makita Oliver always being on our screens.
Yeah.
People like her, people like Rochelle Humes,
Yeah.
anyone on Look magazine. That was one of my favourites back in the day. Who else?
Oh my God, there's so many. Fumi Feto for me was amazing. Well, she still is. She's incredible, because she really made me realise that you can do any sort of role within the beauty industry, which is amazing as well. Pat, so again, to be able to work for her was, you know, just a dream come true. There's just so many, but I think for me the biggest thing was just seeing any woman of colour or any person of colour in the industry. That just inspired me to be like, actually, I can do that. And that was just really exciting for me. So,
do you know whose story
Definitely.
is also amazing? Danessa Merrick.
Oh, I love
Oh,
Danessa.
yeah.
And she is the nicest
Yeah.
woman ever. And
She
her
is.
story, she told me that she used to, it was of the era as well. She would film like VHS videos, and that's how she kind of got started. She was really good at training, and she created like a box set of videos, so you become an expert at home whilst kind of watching her.
Wow, so
And
ahead
then-
of her time.
Yeah.
So ahead of her
really.
time, exactly. And then how she's really helped like MPD on so many brands,
Yeah.
because they were like, they realized that they needed someone to help them create products rather than just the room being full of fair skinned
Yeah.
people trying to create for darker skinned customers. And now her brand, which I just think is so beautiful. And I just at the start as well,
Yeah.
right? Have you met her?
Definitely.
I actually did a makeup course with her, and it was one of the best makeup
wow.
courses. Yeah, because
Wow.
I'm a massive believer in never stopping learning. Even to this day, like I love taking like digital master classes, or even if I'm able to go to them. And she was so beautiful in terms of like, you know, just pouring herself into the masterclass and teaching, but also her story. And some of our like best loved products that have been created have been with
she's
her,
helped.
you know,
Yeah.
helping to consult with them. Another person that I really love is Jackie Aina as well,
Yeah.
who I
Oh,
adore.
yeah.
She's incredible.
So good.
And she also really allowed me to think about like having your own kind of like business, as opposed to working for a company, but also working for yourself and making that change as well. So yeah.
So
I always
true.
think of Patricia Bright.
I was just about to say Patricia
Britpop
Bright.
princess,
Yes.
if you're OG.
From the back in
Like,
the day.
Yeah.
I remember I met her randomly like last year with part of my old job, and I was like fangirling because I was like, I've literally watched you for 10 years do Primark
true.
hauls and
Yeah.
then become like ambassador of this and that.
Yeah,
and
she's done so well.
so, and I think it's so important that we also have British black
Yeah.
beauty ambassadors to look up to. I think it's
So
really easy for us to
true.
look across the pond, and you know, of course, bigger countries, they have a kind of greater wealth of people to choose from. But in the UK, I'm like, we have to really make sure that we're kind of flying that flag as well.
100%.
Definitely.
Talk to us about the kind of the negative side. You mentioned when you worked on counter and wearing a foundation that actually wasn't of the brand. How often did those kind of things crop up? Let's say talk about now of 2023, obviously much time has passed, but do you still experience that with some brands? I think, you know, it's something that is still there.
Yeah.
But how does that make you feel, and what do you think the future is for that?
I think it's definitely progressed a lot more from where we were. You know, I don't find myself in those situations as much, but I would say is that I think I've got a bit more autonomy in terms of who I decide to work with now. Because now I literally do a few different things. So I'm a content creator. I am also a freelance makeup artist. So, you know, I'm always forever looking at brands that really do sort of look to kind of being very inclusive, and if I feel like a brand isn't, I don't really like reach for them as much, because I just think there's no excuse now, you know, after everything that's happened. There's just no excuse, and I feel like if a brand's still doing that to this day, it sounds alarm bells to me, you know. And I think it's so important because, again, it's not even just about being inclusive for a deeper skin tone, even for your fairer skin tones as well, you know. I think for me it's all about quality. I think that's the biggest thing, because I think on the other side of it, there's some brands that are trying to jump on that bandwagon of being inclusive, but then it's like, I'd rather that you have an edit of really good 40 shades of foundations as opposed to having 50, 60, and then I still find it very difficult to be able to shade match myself or a client. So yeah, there's a lot that's happened to kind of progress. I still think there's a lot of work to do, but I think a lot of it is to do with hiring more individuals that are representative of who you are trying to kind of like sell to. So one of the things that, you know, I would find a lot when I was working on the shop floor is that a lot of clients that looked like me would want to be served just by me, because they felt like there were certain things that I understood, and, you know, I would do a better job of matching them, because, you know, with the statistics, you know, people of colour, and especially black people, spend 5 times more than their white counterparts, because they probably had to buy like 5 foundations and with the wrong shade, because there's been a lack of knowledge, there's been a lack of, like, you know, product.
And they were more expensive as well.
Exactly.
They call it like the black beauty tax. It's a real thing, not just with money, but also with time. You know, you go to the hairdressers, you're not there at like for 1 hour, 2 hours, you're there for like a whole day in some cases.
It's a long time. And so there's all these different things, and I think, you know, a lot of the people that are making these decisions are not representative of who they are trying to sell to.
So true.
And so I think it's very important that these people are in those conversations, that they can actually be saving companies a lot of money when they're making these wrong choices, to be able to be like, actually, don't bring out that product. You know, there's a need and there's a space, or there's a gap in the market for this, you know, or there's no point in having all of these shades if they're still not viable and workable for the people that need them. So true. And this is why brands like Fenty, you know, she's a billionaire, not even from her music, from the beauty brand, because she's one of the first to create such an inclusive, you know, range of shades of foundation, concealer, loads of other products. And props to Rihanna, because she's
but I think it's interesting with Fenty how, you know, it's almost like cited. I think maybe because it's the first modern one. But actually, I remember like Iman Cosmetics, and when it still had counters like in prominent locations. And I guess with time, you know, that kind of distribution, you know, got widely reduced. But I feel like if Iman now were to restart that brand or kind of reinvigorate it, if she's even still involved, would be huge. Like, who wouldn't want? I would love that, like Iman, you know, she's such an icon, such an icon.
And I love that you said that, because I think what Rihanna did was that she really was the person that was shouting from the rooftops about it, because she wasn't the first person to bring out an inclusive brand, you know. Even, for example, MAC and Bobbi Brown, they're inclusive brands that were there way before. But I think what Rihanna did was that she was the face of the brand, and she was also shouting about it and bringing it to the forefront. And I think a lot of brands, what they've done is that they've never really shouted about it. They might have had the shades, but they didn't make a point to actually have all of their shade ranges out, or have like their deeper skin tone colours, you know, at the front, so that people wouldn't just look and see like, you know, 40 beige colours. They can actually see that there's like a real range of colours there. So I think that's so important, to have brands put their products at the forefront, but also showcase it and really shout about it as well. And even if they're not selling it in the way that their other ranges of shades might do, doesn't mean that they're not selling as good. It's just that obviously customers might not even know that you're even catering to them, you know. So
it's
true. I agree. I mean, that visibility side, and I guess in my actual day job is something that we come across a lot. And like you said, it's kind of, especially if you kind of got like a multi door retailer, so maybe like the community itself is maybe more prominently white than black, so therefore, of course, statistically speaking, if there are only kind of 2% black people, then maybe only 2% of sales will be black. or black or darker shade foundations, but then those foundations literally aren't there. And it's that big kind of chicken and egg of people saying, brands saying, oh, but darker skin tones don't sell, and then customers saying, we don't know they exist. And that loop just keeps continuing. I also feel, you know, in terms of, you said that you're sort of a working makeup artist, how are you juggling that? How are you juggling still doing jobs? Are you doing, and what kind of jobs? Are they weddings? Are they red carpets? Like, how much, I feel like the last 4 years for you have been so huge, and it's been so amazing to see you kind of go from and like you said, I love that thing of leaping from fear and just the energy, you know, whatever will happen, you know, it'll be successful. How are you balancing being a content creator, really, you know, you're writing as well, being a makeup artist? What does your future look like?
It's a good question. And I think what I love is that I don't know what my future's going to hold. So it's very much like when I find out, everyone else finds out at the same time. I love that, because I think for so many years of working in like a not strict, but kind of like a structured way of knowing what your routine is going to be, I really love that every week I just don't know what I'm doing. And it's very balanced. Like, so what I love is that, you know, I can still use some of my degree and put it to good use.
That's what I find actually crazy, is that you studied communication and media at a time when it was the only place in the UK that did it.
Yeah.
And now really your life is about communication and media.
Exactly.
Great
so in a
foresight.
way, it's actually like worked out really well. And that's why I always feel like when you're in an area that you're passionate about, opportunities are going to align regardless of what it is that you are doing. So obviously I do a little bit of contribution for Sheerluxe, which I love, because it means that I'm able to kind of like flex my sort of like writing skills, and you know, I do a few things for the show, and then I also do like content for social media and digital. And then as a makeup artist, it's very varied. You know, I think more of my time is based on the digital landscape of me being on social media, which I love, because I think, you know, when you're working with your clients, you can only do so many, whereas I can sort of reach far more people on social media. And, you know, for example, I did a masterclass on Sunday, which was amazing, because I was able to like meet some of my followers and my audience that, you know, you might even be speaking to them more than you speak to your own friends sometimes, because you're DMing them constantly and you're having conversations about foundations and products and launches and stuff. But to be able to be front facing with them and actually talk about products that I'm loving and really have that time with them was just amazing. I really love it. And I think that's where I really thrive, is the education aspect of it, where I'm able to kind of really bring to life my skills that I've learned over the sort of course of my career and share that with people. I think that's amazing.
I think what people need as well, I think, you know, you're a very kind of trusted and valued like person in the industry, and I think for so many years that didn't exist. You know, I think that's why people feel very like close to you, and like they know you as well.
Because, so true.
You know, it's that relationship building on social, and to meet you in real life, that's probably really special for them. Talk product. That's where I get excited. Let's talk product. What are your favourites? Sherri, we'll start with you first. Also, I think it's interesting, that differentiation, I guess, if people are listening and not watching, that 3 women that I'm sure identify as black, all very different skin tones, different hair types. So I guess yours and I experience will be slightly closer in terms of hair texture and skin tone.
Yes.
But also still with the same struggles in some respect. What are your favourite products now that for you are like, I cannot, like, I have to have one in my handbag at all time, and maybe like backups in a beauty cupboard?
Oh, I would say the NARS Creamy Concealer. Always.
Agreed.
Like, and again, the shade range is so good. I remember when I switched from like a high street one to this, and I was like, oh, maybe spending a bit more money is actually a good thing. So that's definitely up there. And then also I would say the MAC Studio Fix foundation. That was probably the first one that I ever bought, and I remember being 14 and I had really bad skin. I was really conscious of it, and that was the only place that I could find on the high street that did a foundation in my actual shade. I couldn't go to Boots. And I remember when Nicola Roberts, no shade to her, but when she launched a makeup line for pale skin girls, I was like, this is great, but where are the shades for women of colour? There was nothing. So to this day, I'm so loyal to MAC for that reason. So that foundation. I
always say, you know, that actually I feel like that MAC is a brand that most people like for sure in their makeup bag have a MAC item. There was like I remember seeing my aunties and my grandma, and so that's on my black dad's side, and you know, it was like everything was MAC and Bobby, and like you growing up with that, you know, knowing like if all else fails, I can go to MAC,
Yeah.
you know, and I feel like there's still that brand now, which I think is
Yeah.
really nice, I guess, to have that like history with the brand.
Yeah, definitely. It's an OG. So yeah, I'm still loyal. I will always buy that foundation. Probably, well, it's great, but I just love the fact that I've always had it and it was the first one I used. I also love Beauty Pie's. It's their brow gel in the coloured one. So good. Really affordable as well. And another one, anything Charlotte Tilbury, specifically the eyeshadow palettes. Again, such a nice shade range. I think she does something for everyone, and the pigmentation's really great. So those would be my, if I had to choose a few, it would be those ones. Yeah.
Adiola, for you?
Good choices. At the moment, I'm having a real love affair with the Yves Saint Laurent Beauty All Hours foundation.
Oh, nice.
It's a useful foundation. It's super lightweight, but it's also really lovely on the skin. I've got it on today and I really, really love it. I also am a massive fan of the NARS Creamy Radiant Concealer. I just think it's so good. And then I also love the Bobbi Brown correctors.
Yeah.
So everyone's kind of familiar with the ones in the round pot, but they do the stick versions now. And one of the most asked questions that I get is how to tackle dark circles under their eyes or pigmentation. And I love the stick because it's just very handy. You can pop it on certain areas to kind of colour correct. And you probably will find that because your skin's a bit more even after using those things, you won't need to use as much foundation. And then what else do I love? Oh, I love the Dior lip oils. I absolutely adore.
My guilty pleasure, Adiola, is watching your videos, and when you do your anything lip, I'm like, oh my god, it looks so good. It looks so good. It's so satisfying to watch.
Thank you. No, I am a real lip girl. It's one of my favourite things. So yeah, those would be like my top faves at the moment.
I think I'm with you on the NARS Creamy Concealer. I remember when I worked for Space NK at the time when that launched in the Nottingham, because I was at uni there. And we had the testers where we had the stock and people were coming in going mad for them. And we were like, guys, we don't have them yet. And then when we finally had the stock in like a day, all the shades. And that's like, I'm 32 now. That's like 10 years I've been loyal to that product. It's with my longest standing relationship.
Yeah.
I think it's nice that there's so many great brands coming out now. And I guess, Sherri, to your point about other brands that maybe launched with kind of high expectations but then fell flat with shade ranges. Now there are so many great brands launching that from day one, and also not just foundations, but I think we always talk about shades and we think about complexion, but also like lip products that are pigmented enough. Eyeshadows, making sure that yes, actually I can buy a foundation, a concealer and a bronzer from one brand. Because so many brands you can't. You could maybe buy a foundation, you say, oh, can I have a concealer? Oh no, we don't have something that's, I'm like, okay, cool. And, and I'm fair. Like my mum was white. Like this is insane for me. Your kit, I'm always want to know what's in people's kits. So I feel like there's difference between products for yourself and products that you will use on clients.
Yeah.
Your top 3 for your kit, are they the same? Are there any overlaps? What's your kind of your go-to?
Oh, that's a very good question. For my kit, I have a lot of skincare products that I like swear by for my kit. I love Bobbi Brown Vitamin Rich Face Base. I like Milk Makeup primers. I think they're really, really good. Yeah, the Hydro Grip primer is fantastic. And then powder-wise, I think a lot of things that I use on myself, I use on my kit because I feel like I'm always testing things out. So if it's fail-safe and I feel like it works for me, again, I can just adapt it to suit my client's skin type, but then the product would work either way. I use a lot of cream products. Danessa Myricks, her cream products are amazing.
Have you tried them?
No, I haven't.
You need to go to Sephora.
Oh yeah,
because they've got, you can actually touch and test and play.
Yeah, Sephora, or you can go to Guru Makeup Emporium, which is amazing. I love Guru Makeup Emporium. It's like a real sort of like makeup artist like treasure chest.
Just off like Kensington Church Street.
Yeah,
you can go there, go to Whole Foods afterwards. It's a nice day out. You'll spend a lot of money in both.
Amazing.
I love it. There's a good Zara as well. It's like a really nice, it's like a really nice place, and it's independent and it's just really cute, and you have a lot of pro stuff in there, so you can get loads of things for your kit in there. And I love that we have Sephora here now, because a lot of things that we couldn't get from across the pond, we can get them in there now.
I actually went for the first time on Monday.
I haven't been yet.
Have you not?
Been yet.
So I went with my colleague. It was a bit of a comp shop, as we call it in the trade, a competitive shop. See what our competitors are doing. And I was like, it'll be successful if I spend money. And the card was out. So the Huda, you know Huda?
Yes.
The glowish, her glowish line.
Yes.
Oh, she's got this skin tint. It's amazing. You will love it.
Okay.
Because glowy and it's
Glowy,
yeah.
just beautiful. And then I just bought a Refi brow gel, which I've used before, but
Nice.
it was just nice to buy it there
Yeah,
and then,
there.
you
Yeah.
know?
Mm-hmm.
The makeup selection that they've got is...
I can imagine. I was
pretty
waiting for the
unreal.
hype to kind of like die down a little bit because it was a bit mental when it first
Yeah.
Mm.
There's like a lot of staff. There's tons of... And it was packed, and we went on a Monday.
Oh, wow.
Like, it was crazy. Where are your favourite places to shop?
Liberty, I love. Yeah. But do you know what I love about
Was forced to
Liberty?
say that.
I love Liberty because it's just a bit more of like a relaxing like shopping experience, I find. And it's just like a really nice place to like kind of like be. And I love that you have like a lot of experts that are in there as well, like Jules as well.
Got a lot more coming.
Ooh, exciting.
Hint, hint.
Hint, hint. Exciting. I love Space NK. That's one of my like favorite places to
Yeah.
shop as well. And I love that they've got some really good like clients that are coming in. Like there's always something. Like I feel like every week there's like a new launch. Like
Yeah.
they were like, you know, they brought Tatcha to the UK, and I was so happy about Tatcha because I love the Luminous Dewy Skin Mist. And I would say Selfridges. Selfridges is quite nice. I don't go very often. I think because I work there for so much.
Yeah.
I don't want to go in there right now. But no, it's an amazing like, you know, place to be, and it's a nice place to shop. But I think I like more of like a chilled, like let me kind of like peruse and see what I want.
Yeah.
Kind of vibe, and it's not noisy like in the other places, so I,
don't
like
I
that.
don't like noise.
Yeah,
I
the
like
noise is a bit
Yeah.
stressful.
Sherri, for you,
nice.
where are your go-tos?
Again, Liberty Beauty Hall. It's a whole day out. Even if
Yeah.
honestly, I'm in the West End,
I
and I'm always
hashtag
heading
not
there.
sponsored. I feel like we're going to get comments
To
like...
be fair, I used to work at Liberty back in the day when I was a lot younger. So yeah, that's always a top one. I do a lot of mine online actually.
Do you?
Although you miss out on actually seeing the product, you testing it, and also Boots. Always going to Boots, Superdrug. I'm here for the affordable, the dupes.
Yeah.
I can spend
So yeah, got a lot of time.
fortune. Like, because in my head as well, like, I'm like, oh, £10 here, £10 there. You get to the tills, £400.
Yeah,
What has happened?
It adds up quickly.
What on earth has happened? I even do like online deliveries to Boots because they've got a 3 for 2.
Yeah.
I'm bulk buying. I don't know if
Yeah.
that's maybe like a black thing, an ethnic thing.
No,
My
it is.
cupboard will
It
be
is.
stocked.
Yeah,
I don't
it
want
is.
it to be there
don't
without
wanna be
cream
caught out
or
slipping.
Yeah.
deodorant, everything.
I think that is a black or ethnic thing because I'm always scared that they're going to discontinue my product
yes.
because there's not enough demand for it.
It's so
So
true.
with hair, any makeup thing, I'm like, okay, I'm going to buy 4 because what if they don't have it? Honestly, no, seriously. And my sister is the same.
I'm the same as
Yeah.
well, the exact same. I bulk bought Pattern Beauty, the leave-in conditioner. I went with my
yeah.
boyfriend, and I think he thinks everything's like a £5. And they're like 25 quid each, and he was like,
Oh yeah, they
£75 on leave-in. I was like,
Yeah.
yes,
They
that's
don't
correct.
know,
They
like,
don't have no clue.
They
Yeah.
have no clue about the cost of things.
No.
Because when you like ask them like how much you think this is, and they're just literally like,
What's my favourite game?
£2?
to play?
yeah. I love watching those videos on TikToks, and they're like, oh, that's like £5. I'm like, if only it
Yeah.
was £5. So
What's your
funny.
favourite new brand? As in, like, maybe last couple of years has launched. What are you really into?
Ooh, I've got to think now.
You've got like
Ooh.
Jones Road, Vive, Westman Atelier,
Yeah, oh my
Lisa
God, Vive.
Eldridge.
There's so many. I do love Vive. I think there's
Say
something to
Beauty,
say
yeah.
about when like, you know, an expert launches a product, you can really tell.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you can really tell that Jamie was in the industry and has created products, because I feel like everything that she's bought has been very top tier.
Her blushes are so nice.
Yeah. There's another brand that I don't think it's here yet, but Amicole. Love.
So it was
Ooh,
on
I haven't heard of
Net-a-Porter,
this.
and
Okay.
they cut it. But I'm trying.
Yeah,
I'm trying.
I
I've got quite a
love.
lot in my makeup bag.
It's really lovely. Like they've got
Gorgeous.
skin tints and then the lip oils as well. And I do love brands that are just very curated and edited. Like she doesn't have a lot of stuff. And there's another range called, is it Topicals?
Topicals.
Love
yeah,
Topicals.
yeah.
They do some really good like bespoke products for things like ingrown hair, suitable for like, you know, concerns that typically like people of color would have, like hyperpigmentation.
Yeah.
I really love, because I think a lot of the way that products are marketed, especially in the UK, are with things like fine lines and wrinkles, but we don't really have those concerns.
Yes.
For us, our concerns are hyperpigmentation.
Yeah.
So just to have a brand that's marketed solely to you and your concerns is very refreshing.
Also, I love that both of those that you mentioned, so Topicals and Amicole, are black female
Yeah.
founded, you know, and like they are so, like, for me, I think those two, both of them, I think are geniuses as women.
100%.
Like what they've done in terms of investment they've raised and the people around them are so smart
Yeah.
and they're still so young.
Yeah.
Like imagine in 5-10 years, like where those brands are going to be
So
is
exciting.
if you've not tried, I would highly recommend trying.
Yeah.
They're hard to get hold of though.
They are.
Like,
That's
go
the
to
only
America.
thing, yeah. When I was
Or
in
get
New
a
York,
friend.
I stocked up, but yeah, they do some really beautiful stuff.
It's hard. And that's the thing, I guess. There's so many great brands, I think, in the US, and it's like there is this demand here. We are ready.
Yeah.
We want to purchase.
Rhea, I want to know, what's your favourite new one?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I have to try and remain unbiased.
Yeah.
I'm a massive Ami Collet fan. Like I actually predicted that they would launch on Net. So I was very happy when that happened, and I've spoken to the founder, and the products are just fantastic. I love Westman Atelier.
Yeah.
Like
gosh,
at the
yes.
kind of very luxe.
Beautiful.
It feels it's just a sexy brand, you know.
Gorgeous.
And I think it's really important that actually things feel nice. Like, you know, it feels heavy, it feels weighty. I love Say Beauty.
Oh,
Yeah,
know,
they do
I-
really nice. Is it the skin tint?
Skin tints,
Yeah,
their cream
lovely.
bronzers. Again, it's a brand that I use probably every single day. I never speak about it because we
Yeah.
don't stock it, so I'm always a bit like, oh,
Yeah.
what are you using? Oh, something from Liberty, but that's just not realistic, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that obviously it's a bit different for me because I get to see a lot of brands very, very, very early. I think I want more brands. I want more of the current brands to do more. You know, like there are a lot of brands, even brands that we stock, that need to pull their socks up, and if they don't, you know, I think it's the industry will, you know, because customers will start kind of being a bit demanding back, as they
Yeah.
should, because it
Yeah.
is, you know, like post BLM and still really not that much has
Yeah.
changed. Back to, I guess, product and people. In terms of like, if you could have a client, a dream client, whose makeup would you love to do?
I'd love to do Kelly Rowland's makeup.
Oh yes,
Her skin's amazing.
Her skin
Is
is
she
just
real?
amazing.
Like,
she's just so
honestly.
beautiful. Her makeup artist, when she comes to the UK, is another incredible makeup artist called Esther. She's under the name Painted by Esther.
Oh yes, yeah.
And she's doing
Is she
amazing things.
British?
She's British,
Yeah.
yeah. And she does a lot of like the beautiful like chocolate girl. She's done Naomi Campbell, SZA. She's doing Kelly Rowland, and I'm just like in awe because I just think it's amazing. And she's like, her trajectory and how she's grown is amazing. I love like seeing other makeup artists do incredible things. But yeah, I think Kelly Rowland, just because her makeup's never too much. It's just like, you know how you were saying, like her skin looks amazing. And I think as a makeup artist, that's the biggest compliment that you can ever have. Is someone looks at another person that you've done their makeup and they're like, oh my God, their skin looks amazing. Not that the makeup looks great. You just done such a good job that the makeup is like virtually undetectable.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's the biggest kudos that you could ever have, ever.
I think I'm just quite obsessed with Kelly Rowland.
Me too.
It's insane how
Yeah.
good she looks.
She's just-
I'm like, what are you?
And she looks
what are
better
you doing?
now
She
than when she
does.
was in Destiny's
Yeah.
Child,
Yeah.
I feel. She's like
Yeah.
aged backwards.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
what are they drinking over
Yeah,
there? You know?
exactly.
Sherri, for you,
Um,
obviously not a makeup artist, but if you could do anybody's makeup, or I guess whose makeup or whose look do you like look towards?
Oh, I would say Iman. I think her surname's Iman Haman, I want to say. And she is just stunning.
She's beautiful.
And I would, someone who's just got really glowy skin, but like looks
Yeah.
really natural. But I can also imagine if you wanted to do like a really interesting look on her, like an editorial look, she'd also look incredible.
I'm a bit obsessed with her as well, actually. I can't lie. I remember
Beautiful.
back in the day, fashion TV on Sky. I don't know, maybe I'm like actually showing my
Ooh,
age. It was
that
like a
rings a
really
bell.
random Sky channel that just had like runways. When I was a kid, I was obsessed with watching just the models walk down the runway and like seeing their makeup, seeing their outfits, seeing their hair. I don't know if it still exists, probably not.
Yeah, like Britain's Top Model.
Yeah, it kind of was like that actually, but it was real, and it was just an actual real runway show because it was like pre-social media, so you couldn't get it live streamed.
Yeah.
It was all a bit random.
So cool.
Let's talk about advice. I feel like people are probably always in your DMs like makeup hotline Adiola. What is your number one best piece of advice for beauty?
Number one piece of advice, I know it sounds cliche, but love the skin that you're in. And when you look after the skin, it's the best foundation that you could have for any makeup look. I think if you have beautiful skin and you do a little bit of like something on the skin, you can do an amazing smoky eye. I think there's nothing worse than when your skin just doesn't look good or feel good to you, and then you try and kind of like plaster it with like, you know, makeup. I always think of it should be like the icing on the cake or the cherry to finish off the cake. It shouldn't be like the thing that you focus on. So yeah, look at skin prep before makeup.
So on that then,
Yes.
for skin prep,
Yeah.
what would be your number one?
Oh, a really good moisturizer, I think. Nothing too rich, because again, you don't want something that's going to be too rich that's going to make your makeup slide off. And then a thing that I find is very important is to look at the right primer for your skin. So if you have, normal skin, normal to dry skin, and then you want to use a primer, just using your moisturizer as a primer. You don't have to invest in spending money on a separate primer. I think that only comes into play if you have particular concerns. So finding the right primer for you. So if you have oily skin, you might want to look for a primer that is really good for absorbing excess oil or minimizing the shine or helping to kind of blur out the appearance of your pores. If you have dry skin, you maybe want to go for like an illuminating primer. So yeah, just making sure that whatever you prep your skin with is suitable to what your concerns are.
Amazing.
I have a question. You mentioned hyperpigmentation earlier,
Yes.
something that I personally suffer with.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, what can I do? Do you have any products or even like treatments that you would recommend if you want to like get rid of dark marks?
Oh my gosh, I mean, I love treatments. Chemical peels you can go for. I think a lot of people feel like chemical peels are a negative thing, but there's so many different things that you can have. Like you can have very sort of superficial ones that only kind of like target the top layers of the skin, and they're kind of great for beginners. So I love those, and I would recommend to see Dr. Army, who's amazing, Dr. Ejikeme, who's amazing.
Oh, she's amazing.
Deja Ayodele, she's
Also
amazing.
amazing.
And again, these are all women of colour that will understand your skin. I've also recently had core peel laser with Dr. Taktuk Wasim, who is amazing. I love him. And that for me was a great insight because I've always wanted to try laser to help with skin texture and rejuvenation, but I was very, very nervous. And what's great about core peel is that it's not using excessive heat that would obviously not be beneficial for our skin. So it's actually quite cooling at the same time as treating the skin. So those would be like the treatments I'd recommend. And in terms of products, antioxidants. So vitamin C is great, but not everyone can use it. So maybe a niacinamide. The Sunday Riley new niacinamide serum is amazing. That's great.
Is it?
Yeah, it's called the Be Nice serum.
Straight to basket.
That's a great one. And then sun protection is one of the best things.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm hot on that. I
Yeah,
always do
so
that.
using that every single day. Again, prevention better than cure, I think. So yeah, a very good sunscreen that you prefer and like to use.
Amazing. Great.
No worries.
Sherri, where do you go for advice? What resources do you have?
Well, I actually have 2 books to recommend. I'm a big reader of beauty, because I started with magazines and then my sister has a lot of beauty books. So 2 that she recommended to me. One is Black Skin by DJ Adiola, which is amazing. Lots of tips, similar to what we've been saying. Just like a 101 on how to treat, you don't even have to be a specifically black woman. It's for women of colour. If you could be dark skin, South Asian, for example. So that's a great one. And also Palette, a Black Beauty Bible by Femi Feto. Yeah, it's just a great all-rounder and also a really nice gift. If I was 15 and someone had given me that gift, I would have been over the moon.
I love
It's
that
a beautiful book.
Such a beautiful book. Yeah, it's amazing.
Wow. I think, I could talk about product for another few hours, I can't lie, like day in, day out. One last question, actually. Because you had add to basket, that's got me thinking. If you were to now go on your phone and add one thing, like what is on your wish list that you could purchase now?
A fragrance I really want to get.
Ooh.
The Maison Francis Kurkdjian Satin Mood.
Okay, nice.
So when I had my luxury manicure with Jules at Liberty, I love it because every day that not every day, I wish I could go every day, but every time I go there, she always has different products that you can obviously like use afterwards when you had your manicure, and she sprayed a little bit of the body oil.
Oh, nice.
And it's a beautiful sort of like vanilla, roses, oud fragrance, and they have the fragrance but also they have the body oil, and it just smelled divine. So that's on my wish list.
Oh, that sounds so nice.
Yeah.
Sherri, for you?
Because we've been talking about Pat McGrath, I have to get one of her lip glosses. It's been on my list for ages, and now this has reminded me I just need to do it. So that's number 1 for me.
Right.
What about you, Rhea?
Oh goodness. To be honest, mine actually might be fragrance as well.
Nice.
I'm very into Diaz and Durga pistachio right now. It's a
Such
really
a
kind
brand.
of grown up, sexy pistachio, not too sweet. so it still feels quite like elegant.
Nice.
And yeah, well, thank you. I'm going to add both of yours to my basket as well, and have a bit of a shopping day. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
If you've enjoyed this podcast, please share with your friends, or you can subscribe on all the usual podcast outlets, Apple, Spotify, etc. We'll see you soon.